It is Monday, July 8th, 2024. This is another edition of Baseball Today, presented to you by our friends over at Booking.com. I am Chris Rose. We got producer Dan. We got intern Tommy. And that is not my man, Trevor Plouffe. That is my girl, Katie Woo from The Athletic. She covers the St. Louis Cardinals and all of Major League Baseball, filling in for our dude who's got a little extra work today. Katie Woo, how are you?
I am so excited to be giving my best Trevor Plouffe impression. I'll do my best. I know he's an all-star, but just really excited to spend the morning with you, talk some baseball. I love the show, so it'll be fun.
I love it. So let everybody know where you're joining us from, because we see some sort of hotel bed behind you.
Yeah, and it's just now dawning on me that I didn't make it before
Mhm.
hopping onto this video, so sorry. It is getaway day, though, so that's my excuse. I'm in D.C. The Cardinals are playing the Nationals in one of these weird four-game wraparound series that I personally don't understand the point of. But yeah, they'll have a game at 4 o'clock, could win the series, could split it. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to do wraparound series, could we at least have it at 1 o'clock instead of 4 o'clock so you don't get
Literally,
home at
what
like
is
3 in the
this?
morning? Yeah.
What is a 4 o'clock is the worst time to start a baseball game because you can't do anything before and you can't do anything after. And it's also so hot here. And what the hottest part of the day? 4 o'clock. So make it make sense, Rosie. I don't get it.
Over under on temperature in your room right now, you probably set it at 68.
I can't see that far, but that sounds right.
All right, we're going to get it going. We got a ton of stuff to cover, and we are so thankful that you're here with us today. You actually add some intelligence to the show for a change,
Eh,
which we love. We're going to start off with our daily tip of the cap, and this to the KBO All-Stars. I had no idea it was such a fun carnival-like Savannah Bananas type atmosphere. The All-Stars walked with their daughters out to home plate. How adorable is that? Then they had like a relay race with their kids. They dressed up in costumes. Did you have any idea it was like this?
no, I didn't. And I think I've watched that clip of the players coming out with their daughters 80 times already. And I
Yes.
still love it so much. This is peak athleticism. I don't care what you have to say about like, oh, it's not a legit game. No, you're telling me this guy's wearing a horse costume and he's still swinging a bat. You're telling me that's not all-star athleticism? I truly, though, I think I would watch every single KBO game if the daughters were out. It's just the cutest thing I've ever seen. I love it.
All right. So a week from Tuesday, we have the Midsummer Classic in Arlington, Texas. So what we need is, Jackson Merrill in his first All-Star game coming out in some sort of horse costume when he's pinch hitting in the sixth inning, right?
Yes, I totally agree. We need as much pizzazz as possible. So I'm thinking like my favorite All-Star memory is I believe it was which Padres closer came in and sprinted from the bullpen and like
Oh,
slid onto his
Heath
knees.
Bell.
Heath Bell, correct. Yeah, we need more of that. Come on, it's the All-Star game. Have a little spirit. It's fun.
Speaking of that game, we're going to kick off today's show with that. 32 first-time All-Stars, including Paul Skenes of the Pittsburgh Pirates. He made it despite making just 10 starts so far this year. So I'm curious, you have any problem with this? Because there are going to be some of the old heads out there that'll be like, oh, come on, he's got to earn his way on.
Yeah, sorry, old heads. I don't have any problem with this. It's again the all-star game. I want to see the stars, and Paul Skeens, 10 starts or not, he's a star. I mean, you just look at what he's accomplished in his short professional career. Why wouldn't you want to see him on the mound? I think it's great for the city of Pittsburgh. I think it's great for baseball in general. I'm all about tradition, sometimes probably more than I should be, but I think in cases like this, when again it's an exhibition game, it's about promoting the game and the future players and the players that, people tune in to watch. Paul Skeens should absolutely be there. He's been electric. I saw maybe one of his top or first three starts of his career. He came in St. Louis, and this was the
Mhm.
game where best fans in baseball gave him that standing ovation. So obviously, people in the baseball world are excited about Paul Skeens. Why not put him on the stage?
To me, it was an easy answer here. And now he's not the only Pirate that made it. Brian Reynolds is there for a second time as well. He's had an outstanding year. And I mean, listen, there are some people that are going to say, well, just 10 stuff. That wasn't his fault. Like, they kept him down there when he shouldn't have been down there. They could have built him up in the spring. He could have left with the team. There's a little bit of me that wants to see the Pirates miss the wild card by a game or two just to kind of prove them that if the guy's ready, the guy's ready. He's 6'6". He's 245 pounds. I mean, he's not going to break. His arm's going to go at some point over the next 6 years. I hope it doesn't, but most likely when you play the percentages in this game, he will. So it was silly to baby him, but he has been, since he set foot on a mound, he has easily been a top 10 starting pitcher in baseball. I don't think there's any other way to look at it.
Absolutely. And when you think about the amount of pitchers, players in general, but really pitchers that are going to be hurt or unable to play in the All-Star game based on
Mm.
scheduling, why wouldn't you have one of the top starting pitchers, regardless of age or status, out on the mound? I'm all about it. I usually, surprisingly, don't watch the All-Star game if I'm not there, mainly because I just like to take a little detox from the season. But there are certain players where if I see on my phone that they're in the All-Star game, I'm going to watch, and he's one of them.
And our buddy Jeff Passan from ESPN has been pushing the narrative that he should start the All-Star game. Where do you sit on that one?
See, I don't know if I can totally get on board with that.
Mm.
I don't know. I wouldn't be upset. It wouldn't be a like get off my lawn moment if he did start. There are other things to be mad about. I like what Ranger Suarez has done for Philadelphia, though, and I don't know. Starting again, I'm not gonna have a real strong opinion either way, but I think we should all just take pride that MLB did the right thing and put Skenes on this roster.
Okay. I will give you this. So I have two sons that are 23 and 18, and they're good baseball fans. They watch a lot. And when the rosters came out, I was watching with our older son, Josh, and I said, "Do you think he should start the All-Star game?" He's like, "Absolutely." He basically said, "I want to see him face Soto and Judge in the first inning." Like, why would? And when you hear that come out of a kid's mouth, where they're looking to get younger and younger generations of fans watching, why wouldn't you? Like, yes, that's exactly what you want to see. I want to see Paul Skenes pitch against Aaron Judge in inning number 1. So with all due respect to Ranger Suarez, who's had a fantastic year, I'm not looking forward to that. That doesn't wow me one bit.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good argument because now that I've heard it, I also want to see that. And not just see
Right.
this is again me being a semi old head. You just go back on tradition and say, well, the best starters should start, the best overall pitcher in each league should start. But I didn't think about it that way. You let the kids play. You should also let the kids speak because that's an intelligent argument. I would not be opposed if Skeen started. I don't feel particular either way, but that's a really compelling argument because who wouldn't want to see that?
Okay, there's been a lot of talk about who got snubbed and who got this, and that's fine. I understand there are always people that are left off, and you can make arguments, and we can do the side by side on social media. That's the big thing these days. I love that. But I want to focus on the 32 first timers. We're going to go one for each league that you think can give us like a wow moment or something that you're super excited about. So let's each go American League. You go first on that.
Okay, American League. I am going Mason Miller, and I think baseball enthusiasts around the league understand that Mason Miller is like an electric elite talent. But I'm not sure if the casual sports fan knows exactly who Mason Miller is and just how insane that arm is. He plays for Oakland, and this is no slander. I'm a Bay Area girl, lots of love for Oakland, but they're a small market team and they don't win a lot. So there aren't a lot of opportunities for Mason Miller to be in prime time. This is probably, realistically, respectfully, the one time he's going to have the opportunity to do that this season. And look, throwing 104 consistently almost every day and just blowing away your competition, that's insane. That is so hard to do. And unfortunately, a lot of baseball and a lot of sports fans in general aren't seeing that because the A's aren't exactly must watch TV. So I'm excited for Mason Miller to get his praise, to get his dues. I think it's easy choice for me.
Yeah, I love him. He's certainly a fan favorite, and over the next 3 weeks, his name is going to be bantied about in trade talk. For me, it's if at the beginning of the year when we reported for spring training, if you heard there's going to be a Garrett pitching in the American League that's going to lead the league in strikeouts and was going to wow us again, you'd be like, yeah, Garrett Cole is just doing it again after his Cy Young season. But it has been Garrett Crochet. He's been phenomenal to watch on an otherwise laughable season there on the South Side. He's going to be, once again, he's another guy that might get traded. I think he's super interesting because he's already blown past any sort of, innings, not limit, but, the height of his career so far. And so any team that trades for him, they might have to dial him back. But for one inning in Texas next Tuesday, as long as it lines up okay for him to throw, he's going to be as fascinating as anybody to watch, I think.
Yeah, completely agree. And he's been a guy that's been associated with trade rumors since opening day. That's brutal. I think he's emerging as one of the top arms in baseball. I know when the White Sox played the Cardinals in St. Louis, they actually won that series, which was very hard for the White Sox to do at that point. And the guys were upset that they had to face Crochet on the rubber match because they were like, it's their best guy. We're already at a disadvantage. And then just talking to a couple players, they were like, he's even nastier than I thought. And I knew he was going to be nasty. So it's top tier talent.
Yeah, he's bounced back from that arm surgery that cost him all of 2022. Last year, he came back for some spot duty out of the bullpen. Actually, had more walks than strikeouts. He has certainly straightened that out this year. I think he's got like a 6.5 to 1 strikeout to walk ratio. National League, quickly, who do you have?
National League, I want to give some relievers some love just because relief pitching is thankless duty. I think Jeff Hoffman, Tanner Scott, they've had great seasons. But I've been on board the Shota train since day one. I know he's a Cub. I know Cardinals fans think that's not allowed. I get it. But he's so fun to watch. He was scratched from his start against St. Louis at home, and I was like actually upset about it. I was like, why can't I have nice things? So I'm just excited to see Shota. He's fun to watch. He's different. That's what I like about him.
And who knew he was so energetic on the mound? Like when he gets a big strikeout in the sixth
Yes.
inning or something, he gets so fired up. Like I'm totally on him. I wrote down 2 names. One of them was Shota, the other was Ellie. I've talked a ton about Ellie and how much I love him. I just think even if he gets out next Tuesday, they should let him have first base just so we can see him run.
Yes.
Um, he's got pop. He's got the best legs in baseball. He's got an amazing smile. I love what he said since day one is that he wanted to work on his English because he knew he was going to be such a big star. He wanted to be able to communicate with the fans. For a kid that's 22 years old to think like that and then to go out and do it, which is not easy. Once again, I always tell people, put yourself in their shoes. Let's move you to a different country where you don't know anything about the culture or the language or anything else and see how you survive. I know me as a 53-year-old old fart would not be able to do it. So I love him for many, many reasons. Let's move on. Ton of amazing games this weekend. It was tough to narrow it down to just a few, but I think we had another candidate for game of the year, and they always seem to happen in San Diego. Padres on Friday night had a 7-2 lead going into the ninth. Alek Thomas hit a grand slam. They eventually go ahead 8-7. They give the ball to their closer, Paul Sewald. Profar ties it up, and then this happens with Manny Machado.
In the air to deep left field. That ball is back, and it's headed into a sea of San Diegans. Manny Machado walks it off.
Let's start with this. I don't think there's any play-by-play guy I would rather have call a huge walk-off than Don Orsillo. Is that fair?
I was just about to say, yes, that's a great moment from Manny, but can we talk about the call first? My guy Don just crushes it. He's perfect for that fan base and what San Diego does, especially given the just straight absurd way that San Diego continues to win games. He's perfect there.
By the way, when he says San Diegans, I love it. Like I don't
It's
know,
so
I get it like a
adorable.
warm and fuzzy. It's part like kick ass and part adorable. You're right. They had one earlier this year. I think Fernando Tatis walked off somebody where they came back another huge deficit. So they always seem to play these ridiculous games at Petco. So they're one of many teams that are caught. You've got the Braves that are the top wild card, but they're not that far ahead. And so you've got the Padres in the mix there, the Cardinals. Then you've got like another 5 or 6 teams that are all right there. Is there one team you're keeping your eye on in the second half in this wild card mix?
To an extent, yes. I do think the 3 teams that we see in the wild card spots right now will be the 3 teams that make the postseason. But if I'm going to pick one to watch, it's not necessarily the Mets because I don't think the Mets have any pressure to go all in this year. It wasn't in their plans. They said 2025 is when we want to be competitive. I don't think they feel as much pressure as maybe the Giants do. They just extended Farhan Zaidi through 2026. They spent a ton of money, like $300 million, and they're still not where they want to be. And then Arizona has some pressure too when you're the National League champions trying to get back into that playoff picture. I will keep my eye on the Mets just because it is the Mets and I just never know what's going to happen there. But if the season ended today, this is exactly how I thought the postseason would look like, and almost verbatim, like the spots that the teams would be in.
So you had this in the preseason?
Not the extent of Phillies and Braves, the gap there, but
Yeah.
I did not think the Braves were going to win the division. I just thought the Phillies, for whatever reason, they just keep clicking. They just keep playing well. One player comes hurt or gets hurt, 6 others step up. They just seem to be a team that really has everything going for them.
I think one team I'm going to circle is the San Francisco Giants. And I loved the moves they made, like the second half of spring training, bringing in a bunch of really, really good baseball players on, I would call them substandard deals. And I was like, man, they're going to kind of sneak in here and get a bunch of. Matt Chapman has played well. Blake Snell has given them virtually nothing. He's trying to work his way back. Robbie Ray, we kind of forgot that they made that trade with Seattle, and he's starting to get his rehab starts and his innings built up. I think they could be a fascinating play. They did just make a trade. They got Alex Young, who's a left-handed reliever, I believe, for Austin Slater. That happened late last night. I'm just curious if they're going to make any other moves, because I look at their lineup and I say, it's decent. It's not terrible. And then I look at the reinforcements that starting pitching could get from late July on, and then all of a sudden they kind of become a very interesting team to me.
Yeah, I think that's what they need is starting pitching. I will give them all the credit in the world for their Jordan Hicks revelation. He said in St. Louis he always wanted to start, didn't really have a fair opportunity to do so. And now they've essentially made a starter. And when you think about the value of starting pitching and how hard it is to get that, they deserve a ton of credit for that. I like what they did with signing June Lee. It didn't work out, but he'll be a dynamic player for them in the future. But if you're looking at what the Giants need to do right now, it is starting pitching. They have Logan Webb, great dude. Kyle Harrison, up-and-coming arm. If you go get a veteran starter to pair next to Blake Snell, who you hope can stay healthy, pitching is everything in this league, as you know. You're feeling a lot more confident about the Giants if they can bolster that rotation. Yep,
I think those are all great points. Hey, quick reminder that today's episode of Baseball Today is brought to you by Booking.com, Booking.yeah. So here we are. We're in the second week of July, and you're probably panicked because your family is on summer vacation. You're like, God, we haven't booked anything. That's where our friends at Booking.com can help you out, particularly if you love baseball, like a lot of you out there, and you want to travel and go see some new ballparks, and you're like, okay, well, there's certain places I'm not going. I'm not going to any of our 4 division rivals. Well, you know what? Maybe that is the perfect place to travel, because with hotels and bed and breakfast and vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find the perfect stay even in your baseball rival city, right? So you got 4 other teams in your division. Let's take where Katie lives in St. Louis, right? They can go to Pittsburgh or Cincinnati or Chicago or wherever you want to go, whatever you want to do. And you haven't been to those ballparks. Well, you check out the schedule, and the Cardinals, they've got 2 home series and 2 road series against those teams. Hopefully something happens in late July or early August before the kids have to go back to school. You start checking on Booking.com and you see, oh, they've got this perfect hotel that overlooks the stadium. Ideal. And you actually go do it. And at the end of the day, you're like, I thought I was going to hate that city, hate that stadium, hate where I was going to stay. And thanks to Booking.com, they have changed your life and put a smile on your face. So the right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city. Yes, even your arch rival. So book today on Booking.com, an official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball, on the site or in the Booking.com app today. Quick question for you. Your favorite NL Central city to travel to is?
Chicago, but don't sleep on Milwaukee. Sleeper cities always have a great time in Milwaukee.
Yeah, shame on me. That was the one I forgot to mention. I'm an idiot. Okay, let's talk about the AL East rivals. Boston Red Sox, New York Yankees. The Sox go into the boogie down. They take 2 out of 3. And yeah, that guy from Boston continues to haunt New York in that house.
Single and a homer for Devers, and this one is driven to center field. He's watching it. He thinks he did it again. Oh, my goodness. Rafael Devers here at Yankee Stadium, his second of the night.
I think it's at 16 of 22, losing 16 of your last 22. Just what does a stretch feel like right now?
Feels terrible. Yeah, I mean, you got to be a little sick to be in this game, though, and you got to be able to weather it.
Okay, I love that's one of my favorite quotes of the year. You got to be a little sick to be in this game. I don't know if I've ever heard that, but I think he nailed it.
Yeah, that's an elite quote. We should put on a T-shirt. And I think so many people, no matter what your role is in this industry, immediate purchase.
Does that go for people who have to travel with teams and cover them for The Athletic?
Yes, it does. Just a little sick, not a lot, just a little.
You know what? We're gonna make that at shop.johnboymedia.com, and probably no joke, that shirt will probably be out later this afternoon. So we'll get you one for just participating on today's edition of Baseball Today. Yeah, well, we're the best around here. Don't say we don't spend on you, Katie. All right, so my big question here is, and Plouffe and I talked about this on Friday's show, is that now the deficit is just 4.5 for Boston behind New York. Is this just like a bad stretch for the Yankees and a really good stretch for Boston? Or are we talking about there's maybe no gap between these teams? Because, 3 or 4 weeks ago, we were talking about the Yankees being the best team in baseball.
That's what makes this game amazing, because I just kind of assumed the Yankees were still good, and then I checked back at the beginning of the month, and I was like, what's happening in the Bronx? I think maybe it's both. I think the Yankees are obviously much better than they've played over the last 3-4 weeks. I think Boston has kind of surprised everybody, especially when you consider what happened with their rotation early in the year. I can't think of anything as fun for baseball as a passionate Yankees-Red Sox rivalry. So that's what I'm rooting for. I'm rooting for chaos with that division. And then you factor in the Orioles too. Obviously, just a lot going on. But I don't think the Yankees will be this bad going forward. And I think the Red Sox will continue to impress. So it'll be interesting to see how this division looks down the stretch.
I kept hearing Carl Ravitch and Buster Olney talk last night on the broadcast about how the Red Sox are still trying to decide if they're buyers or sellers. Listen, this is a damn good team that I did not expect to be here. I expected them to be a distant fifth in that division, particularly when Giolito, who they brought in to eat a ton of innings and provide some leadership for a rather chaotic rotation. And it's been the exact opposite. Like, they have gotten outstanding performances. Tanner Houck is headed to the All-Star game. We saw what Cutter Crawford can do. If this team adds a little bit, I know that they're a little leery because their farm system is coming and they've been kind of pushing that narrative, but this is a really good team. And we have seen in years past, particularly I think this year in the American League, that if you just make it into the wild card round, you could make it all the way.
Yeah, and that's what makes it tough for teams like the Red Sox. I think about the Pirates in the NL Central. You're having a better year than most people projected. And the Red Sox are an objectively good baseball team. You also really like your core, and we've seen teams like Baltimore. What happens when you stick to that core? The Nationals, to some extent, that's happening there too. So it's really tough position for a front office to be in. But I am firmly. And if you have a group of guys that have bought into your clubhouse, why not win now? You can never fully predict what prospects are going to do at the major league level. It's a gamble, no matter how confident you feel about your farm system. Boston has been through the ringer the last few years. I understand why they're contemplating that decision, but I do hope that they look to buy. You don't have to blow up the whole farm system, but you make a couple of incremental adjustments and you're in the postseason. That's all that matters these days with these expanded formats. Just get in. You never know what's going to happen after that.
And with the Yankees, I think it's proving the fact that you need to win in different ways. Like, their pitching the first 2 months, their starting pitching in particular, was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Every night they were giving you innings and dominant performances. Over the last month, although this weekend, 2 out of 3 games, their starting pitching was very, very good. Over the last month, it hasn't been good. And when Judge and Soto, even if they are hitting, like, you need other contributing factors. They haven't had a stolen base in 3 weeks. Like, I don't know how does that happen? Like, they're just not dynamic enough. It's either hit the ball over the wall or don't score runs.
Yeah, when you're too reliant on the long ball, that's what happens. I know the situational hitting, small ball, people are like, yeah, whatever, it's boring. Okay. I get that people don't come to the ballpark to see a sacrifice bunt, but when your bats slump, which they're going to do, it's 162 games, things will happen. You have to figure out a way to manufacture runs. I saw the Cardinals do this in April. They virtually could not hit the ball past the infield, but they still managed to score runs because they were good at situational hitting and taking advantage of errors on the base paths or just creating that extra 90 feet when possible.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I don't know what it is, but it's going to be fascinating. Real quickly, because there were just so many great individual performances. We saw Ben Rice become the first Yankee rookie with a 3-home run game. Will Smith, a 3-home run game for the Dodgers. He actually homered in 4 straight at bats. You saw James Wood, outstanding rookie for the Nationals, with his first homer, a 5 RBI game. We have to mention Jose Miranda, hits in 12 straight at bats. Very quickly, 30 seconds here. Was there one particular individual performance over the weekend where you went, damn, that was awesome?
I'm going James Wood, not because I was there to see it, but that certainly helps the argument. But just to see what the Nationals are doing with their prospect timeline. It's been almost 2 years since that Soto trade, and you have C.J. Abrams, the All-Star, Mackenzie Gore pitch. To see James Wood come up and blast one out of the park and see the stadium get excited about it, like, that's the stuff that you remember about milestones like that, the first like that. I'm all on the James Wood train.
For me, it was Tarek Skubal. Yesterday, he completed the Tigers sweep at Cincinnati. I talked about the Reds on Friday's show, how they sweep in the Bronx, then they come home for a 10-game homestand against the Tigers, Rockies, and Marlins. They had to do something. Instead, they got it shoved right in their face. Skubal was my preseason pick to win the AL Cy Young. It's like the only prediction I've got remotely close in the 4-year history of this show. And so I'm going to pound my chest a little bit. A career-high 13 strikeouts in 7 innings yesterday. Gave up 3 hits. He has been unbelievable and arguably the best pitcher in the American League. He's been awesome to watch. Awesome. There is this note from our buddy Bob Nightingale out of USA Today. I believe he told me this at the bar, that rival executives expect the Rangers to make Scherzer, Lorenzen, Heaney, Robertson, Yates all available ahead of the trade deadline. If Max Scherzer goes, that means 3 times in the last 4 years of the deadline, he hits the road. A, do you think it happens? And if so, what's the perfect landing spot?
I do think it happens because I mean, if the Rangers are floating those names around already, it seems like they've decided a route that they're going to take. And when I think of Scherzer and I think of chaos, and I think of teams that need starting pitching, I mean, the most chaotic front office in baseball is the San Diego Padres. So I don't think you can rule it out, right? You can't rule out AJ Preller. He is crazy. You talk about being a little sick, Aaron Boone, a lot sick is AJ Preller. So that would be my bold. I have no facts to back this up, no actual reporting. I just think it'd be fun. That was my decision. Scherzer to San Diego.
I hope he does go if this is the route they're going. I am a little leery because they're only 6 back in the division. That's because Seattle, you were talking about the Cardinals weren't able to hit the ball out of the infield. That has been the story all year for the Seattle Mariners. And the Rangers are 7.5 out in the wild card chase. I think there's too many teams to leapfrog, but if they do want to go after the division, that is a possible outcome for them to win the AL West. That's really if they step on the accelerator. But I do want to see him get traded. I think it's fun watching a future Hall of Famer who still has something. I know he's only made 3 starts since that back surgery. I think the Orioles have got to make a play for him. You have a 1-2 punch of Corbin Burns and Max Scherzer come playoff time. This is a team that they don't have a big payroll at all. Plus, if you're just doing the math here, let's remember the Mets are picking up nearly half of the $43 million that Scherzer gets this year. If you work it out, and I just did a little rough math in my head, so I'm not even so sure that this is right. Let's say he plays 60 to 65 games for your team. That means you're going to pay Max Scherzer about $9 million this year.
That was really good math.
I think. I sat there and I did this 3 times last night. So I think that the new team that picks him up, the other team I said that's a possibility is Atlanta. Ronaldo Lopez has been phenomenal. He's an all-star, but he hasn't pitched over 100 innings since 2019. I don't know if they're worried about him in the second half. I wouldn't think so. He's 30 years old. He's done it before, but you never know how teams think. But I want to see Scherzer go. So there you go.
I'm with you.
Scherzer's former teammate up there with the New York Mets, Edwin Diaz, returned from his 10-game suspension this weekend with a couple of crazy days. Saturday, he did pick up the save. Sunday, blown save, but he did vulture a win. The Mets closer was asked if he would do anything different to prevent yet another sticky substance issue.
No, I will do the same thing. I didn't have anything that day. I will do the same thing. The rock was in sweat and there, you know, that's how I feel. I agree on my ball. I will keep doing the same thing.
In your opinion, does Edwin Diaz sound silly, or does the league look ridiculous because they never really told us what was on his hands?
I mean, I don't know if there's anything that Edwin Diaz can say other than what he just did in that moment. So I get it. I wasn't obviously there in the circle of umpires, but that reaction was pretty strong from all of them when that went down. It was like a no-brainer, like, come on, man, we can't even excuse this. But I wouldn't expect Edwin to say anything else in that moment. So I don't know. I don't. The league does a pretty good job of making themselves look silly in general, but I'm not sure if you can fault either person in this party because I don't really know what either party was supposed to say.
This is what I say. We've had this happen, it feels like, about a half dozen times over the last year plus. Sometimes guys get to wash their hands. Other times they don't. Umpires, their go-to phrases, oh, it's the stickiest I've ever seen, and I've done thousands of inspections. But then just tell us what it is. And if you can't tell us what it is, then why is the person getting penalized? Like, if we're being told it's not rosin and dirt and sunscreen or whatever combination it is, whatever concoction you're creating there with your warped pitching cocktail. But then tell us what it is. And nobody's ever been able to tell us what it is. Doesn't that bother you?
It does, because if you're going to suspend a player for 10 games and put a pretty blatant title on this, oh, you're cheating. There should be some more information back there just for the sake of transparency. I love transparency, obviously. But it's difficult because in the player's sake, they're never going to say anything else, minus the Roz and sweat a little bit of sunscreen. If it's I think it's a good point, Rosie. If it's that sticky, then what exactly is making it that way to the point where you have the reactions that the umpiring crew did that night?
Have you ever been in the circle of trust with the umpires? Have you ever been the pool reporter?
I have not. That is on my bucket list of things to do. But they always have someone else that volunteers. I'm like, when is it going to be my moment? So no, I haven't.
Why isn't a camera allowed in there?
I don't know. And I also think it's strange, why it's just one reporter. I get we all have different jobs to do post game, but yeah, it would be nice to have something other than a written transcript of what was said. But I also, the pool reporter is going to do the best job that they can. Obviously, they're trusted there for a reason. But I think just some face-to-face accountability in all assets of the umpiring game would be a lot. I think would make fans feel a lot better about things.
Do you want us to start the rally to have Katie Wu be the next pool reporter in an umpire room? We have the power to do that. It's up to, the John Boy Media fan base is enormous.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. We're like Oprah. We are like Oprah. We make dreams come true around here.
Should I check under my seat to see my prize?
Yeah. Well, you have to wait till the end of the show. We're almost done. Don't come on now. Don't start this early.
Flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, it is so true. Quick shout out to our friends at SeatGeek for sponsoring today's video. With baseball now in mid-season form, SeatGeek is hooking us up with a new special offer. Everybody, and I'm talking about everybody, can use the code TODAY10. In fact, Katie, look under your seat. There's a code that says TODAY10. You're going to get 10% off any tickets on SeatGeek, whether you're a brand new customer or not. And with baseball now in its mid-season form and artists like Drake and Bad Bunny on tour, you already know that SeatGeek is the best place to get your tickets. So no matter how many times you've bought tickets using SeatGeek before, Today 10 is going to get you 10% off your next order. So that means take out your phone. That's this thing right here. Open the SeatGeek app. I already have it downloaded. Add today's code Today10 on your account. What are you waiting for? Do it now because the offer is only available for a limited time. Code Today10 for 10% off your next order. So go do that today. One quick thing before we get out of here. We just talked about the Mets. They actually took the series in Pittsburgh. It didn't start very pretty because they gave up 7 homers to the Pirates on Friday night, who then weren't able to blast off with their fireworks. And they let this be known on the big board. It says we have 7 home runs, which is the 5th time in Pirates history that we have done this. So many homers that we ran out of fireworks. Is that the ultimate flex that you have ever seen an organization make?
Yeah, it's pretty. I feel like if I'm the Mets and that comes up on the scoreboard, I'm just like, oh man, they partied so hard they ran out of celebrations. That's disappointing if you're the Mets. Very cool if you're a Pirates fan though.
It is cool. I wonder if that's like wanting to leave the party early because there's no more alcohol.
Maybe. Yeah, because part of the best part about home runs is the stadium celebrations. I like when stadiums do different things, different music. Yep. So if you're lacking a little bit of celebration, I get it. But I think at that point, the good people of Pittsburgh, they're just happy to see a blowout. So I think they're okay.
Best stadium atmosphere that you have been to. What is it?
Friday day games at Wrigley Field, Cardinals Cubs, does not get better than that. It's my favorite game in baseball. We do it twice a year. It's impossible to be in a bad mood if you are in the bleachers at a 120 game at Wrigley Field in the summertime. Impossible.
When you are done with your work, do you then accidentally stumble into a nearby bar?
I have been known to show up to some Wrigleyville bars, backpack and all, and just full send. But maybe that was the old me.
What the hell does that mean?
No, I still do it all the time.
Thank God. K-Woo, don't disappoint. Do not, don't take me down that road. That's a dark place. I don't want to go to.
It's Friday night in Chicago. Come on.
And you kicked off our Monday in style. You are a superstar. You're a rock star. We appreciate all your work. You are an amazing writer. If you don't already have The Athletic, go subscribe. It is my go-to place. Continue to kick ass with your Cardinals coverage and also around the world of baseball. And enjoy your All-Star break. I know you're getting a few days off, which are well-deserved.
Thanks, Rosie. This was super fun, obviously. I love spending any time I can with you. You guys do such a great job. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Quick reminder, get your booking.com question of the weekend by Thursday. We'll make you nice and famous when we announce your name and use the question on Friday's show. Trevor Plouffe, we believe he will be back on Tuesday, but Katie, do not lose that phone just in case I have to text you again.
You got it. You just let me know.
For our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, our amazingly talented intern, Tommy Young, this is the uber-talented Katie Woo of The Athletic. I am Chris Rose. We will see you Tuesday here on Baseball Today, presented to you by Booking.com.